Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan Newpel here, Knup Sports Show, episode 219. Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time today, hanging out with us, talking a little sports and a little social sports betting today. We're excited to talk to our guest today. We always bring you some great guests in the sports betting and just sports business world. As you saw from our last show, brought on kind of a more of a sportsy type audience, and today we're diving back into the sports betting side, so excited about that. Hey, before we get going, wanted to make sure I mentioned I will be at the SBC North America show, which is next week, mid-May. Actually, it's early May, so if you are going to be attending that, make sure to say hello. I'd love to sit down with you and say hello. If you haven't got tickets and you're still trying to, we do have a promo code Knup Partner VIP. Feel free to use that promo code, get a little discount. I don't know what that discount is, but get a little discount on your ticket. And go from there. So wanted to bring that up before we dove into the show. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on our guest today. Really excited. What a great individual I got on today. We actually met about a year ago at the SBC conference. So excited to kind of dive in and catch up with our guest today. Let's go ahead and bring Harmon of Kutt on. Sim, how are you doing, my friend?
Ryan, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Awesome. Excited to dive in and talk all about Kutt and just see how things are going for you. But first off, man, how are things going? Are you enjoying the NBA playoffs?
I am. I got to say, playoff basketball is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, times of the year on the sporting calendar. Obviously, I think everyone's a big football fan. But after that, I think for me, basketball is paramount. So, yes, I am very excited. And as I just told you a second ago off camera, we're rooting for long series. We want 7-game series on everything.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it's always one of my answers too when people ask me, "Oh, do you like the college basketball game or the NBA game better?" And I'm always like, you know what, I really do like the college game better. But when it comes NBA playoff time, you are watching the best players play at the highest level, and the competition level just gets insane. And it's like it's so much fun to watch the NBA playoffs. NBA regular season I could do without. The playoffs are unbelievable.
100%. It's a completely different game. I'm convinced that most of the guys don't really turn it on until February. So yeah, it's for all intents and purposes, there are 2 seasons within the NBA season.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Sim, let's dive right in here. I'm excited to learn a little bit about you, and I'm sure the audience is as well. And so why don't you give us a little background about yourself and, I guess, what kind of brought you to starting a social betting platform, your career journey to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, no, that's it'll be a good start. So look, I did your typical finance track. I graduated college in 2013 from a small school in South Carolina. I did a finance major, and then I went to work for a bank and then a startup that basically sold stock market research to hedge funds. So I've always been in the finance world, but more importantly, I have always liked to bet. My friends and I bet on just about anything and everything that we can, anything that has a verifiable outcome. And so that kind of brings me to where Kutt came into play. So the genesis of Kutt was really me and my buddies sitting around the lunch table in high school. And this will probably date me a bit, but in high school we were betting on who would score more points tonight, Kobe or LeBron. Like, this was back when they were both in their prime. And that was really when the idea for Kutt initially came to me. And so, as you can imagine, very few payments were made. It ended up being a very big rolling IOU.
Sure.
And just over the years, we've tried to find ways to continue the betting group chat and actually find efficient ways to pay out each other. Obviously Venmo, Cash App, things like that. But none of those really fit what we were trying to do and what we were trying to accomplish. And so I've always had the idea for Kutt. And in 2018, whenever PASPA was repealed, that's when the light bulb went off. And so that's really when we started to put the wheels in motion for Kutt. Sat on the idea for a couple of years afterwards, but eventually we got Kutt launched, and brings us to where we are today.
Unbelievable. So the dream journey to lead you to where you are today. And I think, a lot of people can relate to that, right? Just love sports betting, want to figure out how to pay each other out. It's such a pain. And so you had a problem, you tackled that problem, and that's where Kutt was born. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about Kutt. I mean, tell us, obviously I'm gonna pull it up on kind of your website here as well and kind of guide along with it, but tell us a little bit about what it is at a high level for anyone that maybe hadn't heard of it.
Yeah. So look, Kutt is a peer-to-peer, what we call social betting platform. Essentially, what that means is all these bets, handshake bets you make with your friends, some guy at the bar, some person on Twitter. We're looking to capture, track, and monetize those bets.
Mm.
So basically, what we call handshake bets. We're formalizing handshake bets. In addition to sports, a big differentiator for Kutt is the fact that we offer basically betting on anything. That could be sports, politics, pop culture, finance, even personal bets, right? We've got a bunch of friends who are starting to have, in our friend group, we're starting to have kids. And it's like we can bet on due dates. We can bet on who gets engaged next, who gets pregnant next, things like that, right? So that is the goal for Kutt, essentially at its core, is to create a betting platform that allows anyone to bet on anything against anyone else. And it's a very different model than the traditional books. It does borrow a bit from the peer-to-peer side, which if you must lump us into a category, I guess that's where we would go. But there are a ton of social features that make Kutt a bit more engaging, a bit more fun, a bit more interactive, and does give it the feel of a social network.
Well, that's where I wanted to go next. Really as a follow up from that is just this whole concept of social betting, right? And what that means to the general public, because I think when people think of sports betting, immediately they're just going to think of, oh, I'm going to go to FanDuel, DraftKings, I'm going to go to one of these operators and I'm going to make a bet.
Right.
But this is a little different mindset. In the
very much so.
Platform. So explain that a little bit, and let's dive into the social betting platform, what that actually means.
For sure. I mean, so I guess to take a step back, we as consumers, I think if you're in the betting space, if you're anything like me, you've tried it all, right? You've used. I've used just about every sports book out there, onshore and offshore. And the constant feedback that I've received from my friends and from other users is that they don't mind it, but they don't love the transactional nature of a traditional sports book, right? It is a very cut and dry, hey, I'm placing a bet, it wins, yes or no, and the transaction is the core feature of that platform.
Sure.
What we found, and again, this kind of solved a personal need as well, but what we found is that that's not how most people like to bet. Most people enjoy betting against someone else. They enjoy the banter. They enjoy watching the game with their buddies. They have to bet in group chats. They're at the bar watching it with other fans of their team. And so betting is an inherently social experience. And what we found is that no one was really capturing all that, right? And obviously, in the last couple of years, there have been a couple of competitors, if you want to call that, pop up that are trying to capture the social thing. But no one has really perfected the social plus the transaction.
Sure.
And so that's where Kutt came into play. But ultimately, what we're really trying to do is we're really trying to create communities within Kutt, right? So, hey, if you like to bet on politics, you like politics, we want you to come into Kutt. You can create a group of like-minded individuals, other people who like to bet on politics, and then you take the extra step of actually making those bets on Kutt, right? Kutt will also handle the payouts so that no one has to worry about being flaked on. And then also provides a bunch of these social features, as I mentioned earlier, group chats, user profiles, leaderboards, things like that do give it the feel of a social network. And what we found, and the feedback we've received thus far, is that that's what people like to do when they bet. They like betting against someone else. They like talking trash. They like interacting with other fans because that's how they do it themselves, right? So it's a very, very, very different experience than your traditional, DraftKings, FanDuel, Bovada, I'll call them in there. Very, very different experience than one of the traditional bookmakers. And then obviously, as I mentioned a second ago, it's not just sports, right? Yeah. And so when we talk about social betting, it's a term that we, I'm not going to sit here and say we coined it necessarily, but we've tried to, I'll say nicely co-opt the term to basically mean, hey, betting on anything, not just sports, but betting on anything with a verifiable outcome, and then also include the bets that you make with your friends and other people on a day-to-day basis.
A lot to unpack there, but I can vouch a little bit for this just personally. I don't bet a ton anymore. Like I'm just, how we get so busy. We're in the sports business and it's like, wait, I'm not even enjoying what I like practice and preach. Yeah, but that said, we'll step back.
Feeling well. Yep.
We'll step back from that. That aside, there is something just different that just hits different. I remember back, I think it was the Super Bowl or something, and I got a little notification or pop up from you, I believe, or from somebody that said, "Hey, who you like in the game tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh, whoever, the Niners or whoever." And you're like, want to bet on that? And all of a sudden,
Exactly.
all of a sudden, I get a little pop up on Kutt that says, "I'll bet you $100." And it's just this next level of like, yeah, I do want to bet, and now I know that even if I lose, it's going to my buddy. It's kind of like this, just this next level thinking, which I really do think a lot of people would enjoy if they understood that it's out there, right? And so I can vouch that that's a really cool mindset to have instead of like, oh, it's going to FanDuel. FanDuel's taking all the money and just that.
I think no, I mean I couldn't agree more. I think that's the biggest thing, and this is feedback that we get from other people as well, which is what you just said. I lost $500. You essentially feel like you donated it to FanDuel. You donate it to a corporation who doesn't care about you. At the end of the day, like they're a corporation, their goal is to make money. Obviously, we want to make money too, but we want customers to have a good experience. And 9 times out of 10, we get the response that, hey, I would rather lose $500 to a friend or even another fan, another person who who's on the other side of the transaction than I would, giving it to a corporation. So that's 100% factual. And I can also tell you, kind of as an extension of that, one of the things that we have been, I'll say pleasantly surprised with, but has always been the goal of ours, is to start building these connections within the app, right? Where you bet against someone who starts off as a stranger for all intents and purposes, and you bet against them once, you chat with them, right? You either win or lose, and then that starts a relationship where they say, oh, hey, Ryan, we already bet on the Super Bowl. Who do you like in the NBA playoffs, right? And you start building these relationships within the community. And we've actually had a couple people who have met some. This almost sounds like a dating app, but who have met someone on Kutt, and then ended up meeting up in person because it's like, hey, man, this is cool. We like to bet on the same things. We have similar interests, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be friends. And so that is the big differentiator. And I do think that there is a bit of a different mindset for the people who do bet on this, who bet on the social, the social component and the social betting app versus, again, the strictly transactional nature of most of the traditional sports books.
So you mentioned a couple times already in our short time here, it's not just sports. There's other things going on, other things that you can bet on. One of my questions in that space, I haven't experimented a lot with that space, but I guess one of my questions is, who sets the markets there? Can you make your own bets? Can you just say, hey, I kind of want to bet on this little random thing happening. Can you two make a bet and then bet on it? How does that work? And then how is it graded? I have so many questions around that side.
It's a great question. So as of right now, Kutt does actually have a button in the app. It's front and center on the homepage that says request a bet.
Yep.
You click on request a bet, a form pops up that you as the user can fill out, and you can request basically a bet on whatever you want to. Now, from there, we actually internally have to approve that market, right? Okay. We have to say, hey, is this something that has a verifiable outcome? Is this something that, we think people will bet on? A lot of times the answer is no. Okay. And for us, the juice is not worth the squeeze in that situation. If it's, if we don't think that a lot of people are going to bet on it, but occasionally we do get markets that we're like, hey, you know what? We've had other people request this, right? Multiple requests for this market. We should put it up. So the answer is this. As of right now, that process is admittedly a bit manual and a bit time consuming. When I say time consuming, just from a perspective of putting it up, grading it, and going from there. But what we are in the process of doing is not only automating that entire system, but also making it personalized, customizable, whatever word you want to use there, so that you as the requester can actually request, it shows up on your page and your page alone, and then you could actually invite other people to that market as well, right? And so this is where the personal bets come into play, right? Where you say, hey, is my baby or is my friend's baby going to be born before or after 3 p.m. on, July 15th, right?
Yeah.
That's where that comes into play. And that's where obviously that's not going to be relevant to the, thousands of users on Kutt. Yeah. But to you and your group of 10 friends, y'all might want to bet on that. And so what we're in the process of doing, as I just said, is making that whole process personalized so that you could actually create that, you approve that, and then you and your friend group act as the arbiter, the judge of that bet, and so that you are in charge of the results. But the thing I will say is right now we do offer sports, politics, and pop culture bets, and that those are, since they're kind of in the public domain, those are much easier to grade, right? And so that is scalable. Those markets are scalable. And in fact, what we found is that we're doing a lot of this in-house. And I think there is an opportunity for us to actually potentially start creating a lot of these non-sports market odds and then licensing those out to to other platforms. Because right now, like if I want to go and I want to, let's say, make a bet on, I don't know, when so-and-so is going to drop an album, is it going to be before or after a certain date? There's no data source right now that you can just pull from. There's no API that you can pull from. And so, that actually is a separate untapped market that I think we could also integrate within Kutt, within our business.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, you answered a lot of those questions that I had around that, man. So much the sky is the limit in that space, as you know, well know, and I'm excited to see where you guys go as an app and heading down this path from the social betting side. But I do want to shift gears here real quick, and I really want to talk more about, I guess, the app, the journey, where you're at in a life cycle, development cycle. I know I've used the app, I've played around with it. Awesome interface, very easy to use. Tell the audience a little bit about that journey, where you're at today, how many people are using it, and all the above.
Yeah. So first off, I do want to touch on something you just said, something I meant to mention earlier. When we talk about, the future of the betting industry and Kutt specifically, and even, kind of how we make decisions, one of the biggest things that we saw in the traditional market was just poor UX, poor UI. Yeah. If you log into DraftKings or FanDuel, if you're not a regular bettor, it can be very overwhelming, right? And I since I used to work in finance, I kind of liken it to a Bloomberg terminal. Like if you go log into a Bloomberg terminal, you're just like, oh my God, what the hell is this? It's just way too much, right? And so you see a bunch of numbers, and it's just, again, this goes back to the transactional nature of it. What we've tried to build with Kutt is a bit more, I'm not going to call it dumbed down, but something that is a bit more easy to use, and hopefully has a bit more of an intuitive interface than your traditional sports books. And so that thinking has really affected a lot of our decision making. And so, to answer your question, so where we are right now, so we have created, I would say, probably we finished probably about 30 to 40% of our roadmap right now. All the features that I've named thus far, we have obviously betting, we have the social markets, we have the leaderboards, we have the user profiles, we have the rewards, we have all these, we have a really good foundation of where we're at. But we're probably about 30 to 40% done with our roadmap. We have a lot of features that we are working on. I think anyone who's listening to this, who is also an operator or building an app, will understand when I say that development is not quick. Development doesn't happen overnight. And so I've had to learn a lot of patience with that, but we are constantly taking feedback from our users and, implementing that into what features we build next. Right now, we're working on a lot of scale type projects. Just to, as we continue to grow, we want to make sure that everyone has a quick and optimal experience. And so to that point, we have over 10,000 users right now. We passed that in the last month. We have, thank you, I appreciate it. I oftentimes hesitate to use specific numbers there, but I feel like that was a big enough milestone. Didn't have to juice that number up too much, but like some other people have done. But yeah, so we have over 10,000 users right now. We did over 7 million in handle, with over 7 million in submitted bets in Q1, and we just continue to see those numbers increase. Next, we're working on a lot of the social features and building those out. As an aside, just to give you a quick example of what I mean by those social features. So we recently what should we call it? Did a partnership with ESPN Los Angeles. So ESPN Los Angeles is an independent ESPN affiliate. So we're able to work with them, not ESPN Bet. And they have taken their local They're local radio personalities, and they basically all just joined Kutt. They talk about Kutt, they bet against each other. And what they did is they actually came on to Kutt and they created a group chat for ESPN LA radio personalities and ESPN LA radio listeners. Cool. And so that group has almost 200 users right now. They all interact with each other, constantly. They send bets to each other throughout the day. And so that's a really interesting case study or use case for Kutt. And so we're basically trying to take that and make it even better. And so on the next step of our roadmap is a lot of those social features and just building those out so that we can start creating those communities that I referenced earlier and make it easier for people to find other people on the app with shared interests.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So doing all this, 30-40% of your roadmap complete, you must have just this massive team of developers, right? Talk a little bit about your team and the business side.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur at heart. And so tell us about that journey and just I'm kind of going somewhere with this because I know it's a grind. I know it's been a grind. I know it is a grind. Talk about that journey of developing this and just how the team is making all this happen.
Yeah. To answer your question, I'll start with this. So 2 years ago, I met with a potential investor who also he's a fellow operator in the sports betting space, but over in Europe. I was giving him the pitch and we're going over this, and this was before we even launched. I mean, this was a long time ago. And I showed him the roadmap and I say, I think we can get X, Y, Z, ABC. I think we can get all these things done in the next year. Yeah. Right. I remember vividly. He looked at the sheet that I gave him. And he goes, okay. Yeah, that's going to take you 5 years. And I remember thinking, I was like, God, I remember thinking like, what a hater. Like this guy, like he's trying to cut me off at the knees. He's trying to, he's down. Exactly. He's putting water on the fire. And now looking back, I can understand what he meant. So to answer your question, we actually have a pretty small team right now. So we have several developers. I'll give a shout out to our co-founder, James. James is our co-founder, CTO. Cool. James is fantastic. James, actually, I found him about a year and a half ago on LinkedIn. Total luck, but he knew our tech stack, and he actually had built an app that was similar to Kutt. It was called FunBet, and it was a lot of this kind of similar social betting type of user experience. So I found James. James is now leads our tech team. We have a couple of developers outside of that. And then we also have a couple of part-time, people who help out. Charlie Bernard, who you and I both know, he's helping out with our marketing. We have a couple other people who are helping out with stuff like that. So getting back to your question, sorry, I went off a tangent there. We do have a small team. Yeah. And so development is top of mind for us, right? Obviously, you need to have a product in order to market, right? If you go to market too fast, you don't have the product to back it up, you're not going to have that user acquisition, user retention. Mm. And so it's a constant push and pull there with us. And it is a grind because you want things done immediately. You get user feedback like, oh, we need to implement that immediately. Yeah. And it doesn't always happen that way. So I've had to learn a lot of patience with that. And it is a constant battle, right? We get feedback with people that say, hey, why don't you have more deposit options? Sure. And I'm like, buddy, I would love to have every deposit option there is out there. If you want to send me $1,000 via carrier pigeon, we'll take it. Yeah. But unfortunately, the process of getting a Venmo or getting a PayPal or getting an Apple Pay onto your platform doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. And it's a constant, as I said, push and pull, constant struggle with reconciling where you are versus where you want to be versus what people expect of you in a short time frame.
Great answer. Let's talk about where you want to be. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about where you're headed. I mean, obviously, head down, developing. You just mentioned development is high priority. Continue to push that, but just talk a little bit about the future, what it looks like. I don't know, any goals or objectives you might have that you can talk to that are future of Kutt.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'll talk very high level here. I think one of the things that we're most excited about are these communities on Kutt, right? As I just mentioned, the ESPN LA thing. We also have another partner, Fox Sports in Philadelphia. Shout out to those guys. they're doing something similar, where they have basically a group of local radio talent who's, doing content for us. They're using the app, they're interacting with their fans. But I think that's what I'm most excited about, are finding these niche communities or these existing communities that already have a fan base, and just integrating that with Kutt, getting those guys into Kutt, because it's exciting for both parties in that scenario. Whether you're a local brand, whether you're a local influencer, in today's society, that interaction, where you can interact and you can bet against and you can chat with someone that you listen to on the radio every day from 2 to 4, or someone that you see at the local bars all the time doing their little their radio show. Like, people like that type of engagement, like that type of interaction. And so I'm super excited for Kutt as we continue to find these partners, not only brands but also individuals who can use the app and bring their existing communities onto the app, right? And then build it out there. I mean, look, if you ask me where I would love to be, I would love to have a scenario where, let's say, you, Ryan, can bet directly against Rob Gronkowski on a Super Bowl game, right? Or, I'm a big South Carolina fan. RIP to my Gamecocks, but like Darius Rucker is a big South Carolina fan, right? Like, how cool would that be to be betting against Darius Rucker? You know, in a most people probably will ask, who the hell is Darius Rucker? But
I got you. No, I'm with you on that.
Okay, but I mean, like, that's the goal, right? Is to start having these experiences where you can actually bet against a celebrity, whether it's an A-level celebrity or an F-level celebrity. We're really excited about that. We're also super excited about expansion. So right now we're in the U.S. only. I think when we look to the future, we have people from Canada, people from Mexico all the time. Like, oh man, like I would love to, to bet. Like, take NHL for instance. Obviously, not exactly half, but a lot of NHL teams are in Canada. They'd love to bet. So look to international expansion. And then the last thing is really just kind of like bettable markets, right? Mm-hmm. So what we talked about earlier, which is right now we have a good core sports offering, a decent core of entertainment and politics, but the sky's the limit with things you can bet on. I think you and you saw I'm sure you saw the headline this morning about Dave and Buster's now offering or about to offer betting on those types of things. That's where we want to be. We want to go to offer betting on anything as long as there's a verifiable outcome. And so the focus on scaling that and building the foundations to make that seamless and efficient is next on our list.
And I feel like I could talk about this forever. Sim Harmon of Kutt, I feel like I could talk to you forever about this topic. I really do. And it's not every show that I feel like I could just keep going on and on and on, but I just have unlimited questions. But
I've heard you say that before, Ryan.
For sake of time, I'm gonna. Yeah, well, maybe I think I know, or maybe I think I enjoy everything. I don't know. But that said, for sake of time, I'm going to start wrapping this up. But I do have a few follow-ups here. So to get you there, I mean, obviously you want to keep scaling. You want to scale. You have a lot to do that you want to keep doing. You need help. You need people. You need some things. Maybe somebody in the audience can help with something that you need. What is one ask? What is one thing? What would you ask of the audience or somebody listening that could potentially help Kutt get to where they want to get to in the next year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, for sure. We would like a $10 million check from a very wealthy individual right now. That would be the most helpful thing. Outside of that, look, I mean, right now, Kutt is very word of mouth, right? So obviously we've been doing some marketing, we've been doing some partnerships and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, word of mouth is our best referral, right? So simple ask is, would love for everyone listening to this, go check out the app. You can find us on the Apple App Store. It's Kutt, Kutt. Or you can go to play.kutt.com if you do not have an iPhone. That'll solve for Android and desktop. Or just our website, kutt.com. But basically, we would love for anyone listening to this to go try out the app. Obviously, we love it, but we understand it's not for everybody. But if you do try it out and if you do like it, we would sincerely appreciate you telling your friends about it. That's the number one thing for us right now, is just word of mouth and getting the Kutt name out there.
Well, that's one thing I noticed about you guys as well. You do a really good job of encouraging others to not recruit, but bring on their friends, and you're going to you have a referral program to help them, get a little
Right.
benefit out of inviting their friends. So I love that part of Kutt, and it really just goes hand in hand with the whole social concept of the whole thing.
For sure, your experience is going to be better. It's just like a group chat, right? Your experience is going to be better and more exciting with more people on here. So that's our goals. Yes, anyone that's on Kutt is to tell your friends, create a group chat on Kutt, and just get more people on here, because then it's going to be just a better experience for everybody.
Amazing. Well, Sim, I really appreciate your time here today. Any last words? Anything we missed? Anything you wanted to touch on that maybe we didn't get a chance to dive into?
I don't think so. I think that's it. But listen, I sincerely appreciate this, Ryan. I mean, this is. I think I speak for all entrepreneurs when I say that it's much appreciated from smaller teams like us to be featured and to be given the opportunity to speak to an audience with someone like you. It's very helpful. Obviously, we don't have the marketing spend of a FanDuel or DraftKings, and so stuff like this, to have advocates in your corner in the space, in the industry, who are constantly pushing new companies and constantly getting us eyeballs, is sincerely appreciated. So I do want to thank you for that.
Awesome. No, anytime. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to having you back in a year and seeing where you're at. And I'm looking forward to making a few bets against you. So let's
yeah, we need to get
final. I need to get going again. I know
we need to get that volume back up. We need to get that volume back up. Exactly.
I dropped the ball. I know you ping me every now and then, like, hey man, what's going on? Let's make a little bet here or something.
Are you busy or something? Why aren't you betting tonight? Yeah.
Because I always lose my money. That's why. Because it's always just here it's handing it over. No,
it's okay.
Awesome. Well, my friend, it was good to talk to you. Thank you, and good luck in the future with Kutt. We wish you best of luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Ryan. Do appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, that was Sim Harmon, episode 219 of the Knup Sports Show. Hope you guys really enjoyed that one. I know I did. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I really love everything about the social betting aspect, because you know what? Betting's no fun if it's not betting's no fun if it's not fun, if you're not doing it with your friends and enjoying it. And so I think Kutt is out to tackle that. I encourage you to go check that out. We'll put the URLs for all of that in the show notes. So if you need the URLs, you can go, but go out to kutt.com. You can find all of that there as well. And make sure you friend me. I think I'm out there, and probably as KNUP. I'll have to go look at that. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Friend me in my little community. We can make bets against each other. That would be an amazing thing. That would be fun. All right, that was it. Again, if you're going to SBC North America, please let me know. I'd love to meet up with you. And if you have any other guests that you would love to be see featured on here, please just reach out. We love featuring small businesses in the sports industry and showing what they're all up to. All right, until next time, I want you all to stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.